You've probably heard a thing or two about the law of attraction, and maybe you've seen The Secret, maybe you've read the book, maybe you've watched some content creators online about the law of attraction and how to become successful using the law of attraction. And you will hear things like envision yourself in the future, living the dream. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Activate all your senses, because once you start to tap into that frequency, that's when you start to attract it in your life. And maybe things like say these affirmations like I am love, I am abundance, I am rich, I'm successful, and that's when you will attract it into your life. So when you think it, you will attract it some kind of way. And of course, there are so many different ways that people talk about it, but I don't believe this is the real law of attraction. I do believe there's a lot of power in visualization exercises for sure, but I have a slightly different perspective when it comes to the law of attraction and how it works at its core. And again, this is not the universal truth. This is simply my current perspective on it. So I believe that everything is created by you. So what you have, what you don't have, who you are, your opportunities, your relationships, your career, whatever it is, everything is created by you, but especially by your stories. Because you will attract the things to affirm what you believe about yourself and the world around you. Because our ego and our mind wants to predict reality. If everything is uncertain, if everything is unpredictable, that's when you are unsafe. Because there's way too much uncertainty. So we create stories about the world. The world is a bad place. The world is in danger. The world is a good place. The world is this. So you can see, for example, the difference in people, that when a person believes the world is a good place, that individual will see completely different things in life compared to the person that thinks the world is a bad place. People are bad and people are good. Those two individuals will have a completely different experience of life, because they will attract the things and they will see the things that is in alignment with their beliefs. And this is how the law of attraction works. So let's imagine, again, two individuals, one believes that people are out there to get something from you. They're always trying to manipulate you. So when that individual receives a compliment, he will interpret it as in, oof, I don't trust this person. Like, why is he or she giving me a compliment? So they might be out to get something from me. So he will have a different experience from that moment, that objective reality, compared to an individual that thinks people are good, people are kind, people are out here to give, people are love, whatever the belief is. So when that person receives a compliment, he or she will have a completely different experience. So we never experience the objective reality. We're always experiencing ourselves based on the stories that we have about ourselves and the world around us. So this is how the law of attraction works. So if you don't like what you have in your life, if you don't like the experiences that you have in life, the feelings that you have or the people that you have, what stories and beliefs are creating this reality? Because you are attracting this, you are looking for this. Internally, you are orienting yourself towards certain things, towards people, towards experiences, because of the stories that are there. And if you don't bring these stories into your awareness, you can change how the law of attraction is working. Because people try to override this with the visualization and override it with affirmations. But if you don't address the core story and core belief, it is not going to work. Because that core story and belief has years and sometimes decades of conditioning. So you think saying one thing or visualizing for a few weeks a better future is going to change something? Of course not. This one is so much stronger. This core belief that you have, this core story. So this is how the real law of attraction works from my perspective, where once you get a grip on that story, like what is actually the story that's running my life in multiple areas, once you bring that into your awareness and you can see it, that's when you can start questioning it. That's when you can start changing it. But if you can't see it, you can change it, and it will always have control over you from the shadows you have within you. And that's why my recommendation for everyone that wants to expand their freedom and wants to be in control of life and what they're creating is go within, go inside of you and see what are the stories that are running my life. That's where all the gold is. So to give you a practical example as well, when it comes to money and finances, because this is a topic that comes up a lot. People talk also about a money mindset. Like, what is the right mindset to have about money to create more money in your life and to attract it? So I talk to a lot of starting coaches, for example, as a coach, because they come to me and ask, how can I build my coaching practice? How does all of this work? Because being a great coach is something completely different than building a coaching practice. These are different skills that you need. And when I talk to them about the business aspect and especially about money, that's when things become tricky. Because a lot of coaches come into the space from a heart of service. Like, I want to serve people. I want to impact the world. I want to do this. But then the topic of money gets involved. And you've heard maybe you believe these stories as well yourself. I've heard many times as in, oh, you want to impact the world? You want to make the world a better place? You're coming from a place of service. Why don't you just do it for free? Why don't you just give everyone for free? When you ask a lot of money for your coaching services, well, you're not giving a big group of people, a big chunk of people, the opportunity to work with you. So are you really coming from a place of service, or are you just out here to get money? So these are stories that a lot of starting coaches, I have heard them as well plenty of times. So now a lot of people have the belief that if something is free, okay, then someone's really doing it from a place of service. But when there is money involved, it's not about the service anymore. It's selfish. So this is where you can see this internal conflict when people are starting their coaching business. Because, I want to go full time with this to serve people, but I don't want to be asking for money. Because when I ask for money, I'm not doing it from a place of service. So they want to do it from a place of service and to really impact people. But money, and this is the story, this is the belief, when I ask for money, it's selfish. Or when I ask for money, it's not coming from a place of service or from a place of love. So how big is the likelihood that they will ask for money for the services? If this is the story that is there. Like, of course, you're not going to ask for money because you don't want to be selfish. You want people to see that you're really doing this because you want to help people. So this is a story already when it comes to, and like this, there are so many different stories that will prevent you from making money. And this is now related to a coaching business, but this is related to any business, especially service businesses that are working like in a kind of coaching space, maybe a more spiritual space. This is where I see this often come up. So this is the story that you want to work with, because you will not attract opportunities. You will not ask for money for your services because of this. So you are creating the reality based on that story. So this is what you want to be dissolving. And that's why it's so fun to be playing with, especially with money, because money triggers people a lot. When you start to think about rich people, for example, that have a lot of money, what is your perspective on them? When you see like rich people, what are the first things that come up? Is it like, oh, they are so inspiring, or they are motivating, or they are hardworking, or they are this? Or is it like, oh, they are selfish, they only think about themselves, they are so status oriented, they are not coming from a place of service, they don't want to make the world a better place? Whatever the stories are, what your story is about, let's say rich people, will either pull you towards it or attract it to you, because it is an exciting vision that you have, or it will pull you away from it. Because if you think rich people are bad, for example, people with a lot of money, they are bad people, then how big is the likelihood that you want to make a lot of money in your life? So you say, wow, I want to make a lot of money in my business, but rich people are bad people, but I want to be a good person. So again, conflict between the stories. And you will always act in alignment with these stories that you have. So this is why you create prisons for yourself and conflicts inside of yourself, because you are pulled into two different directions. I want to be a good person, a person of service, and I want to make a lot of money, but making a lot of money would mean I'm a bad person. And that's why people are stuck in their same position, and they're pulled into two different directions. And that's why, and these are just stories about the world, but if we go even deeper when it comes to stories, what are your stories about your identity, of who you are? And that's why it's so fun. This statement is dangerous. When I'm in sessions with people and I hear them say, well, this is just who I am. Like, these are dangerous statements. This is who I am. I am this. I am that. I am just lazy. I am an introvert. Like, how many people say these things? I am an introvert. So if this is what you believe, you will attract certain things, and you will not attract certain things. You will have certain experiences based on that statement. Because if we look at the core of these statements, of every single I am statement, how do you know that you are? And you will say, wow, look at all of this evidence. Yeah, of course, because you've attracted it. This was the same for me. Throughout most of my life, I consider myself an introvert, because I had all the introvert characteristics. I was socially anxious to extremes. I had no social skills. When I was around people, I felt drained. My social battery was non-existent. So every single time I was around people, I just felt exhausted being around them. So all the personality tests that I did, I was an introvert. So this was ingrained in me, like I am an introvert. But then there was a moment where I experienced a conflict because I wanted connections with people. I wanted social interaction. I wanted to expand my friendships and my social circles. I didn't want to feel the social anxiety. But at the same time, I was stuck in this identity of I am an introvert. So now there is this conflict again, as in I want to create a different reality, but these stories and these beliefs are holding me back. So I needed to question all of it. How do I know that I'm an introvert? So when I was born a baby, of course, there might be tendencies of an introvert. They might be there. But how do I know on an identity level that I'm an introvert? Maybe there are some preferences that I have. So you can already feel the difference in language. So I have maybe some natural tendencies towards being an introvert. But am I an introvert? Like, no. So if I am, nothing comes after that. Everything is simply created. It is simply a story. And that story could be serving you, but the story could also be limiting you. So from my perspective, my story of I am an introvert was limiting me. It was also keeping me safe because I didn't have to put myself out there in social situations. So I decided to learn these extroverted skills. I could, for example, see that I wasn't tired in social interactions because of my low social battery or whatever the story is. I was tired in social interactions because I was putting on a mask. I was just performing in front of them because I was too afraid that who I am was not good enough. Those were the stories that was actually creating this exhaustion in social situations. And you can see how we are always creating a world with our stories. So I recreated my story. I am not an introvert. I have tendencies of an introvert, and I learned the skills of being an extrovert. So I can be both. I can apply both skills whenever I want to. So how are your stories creating a reality that is serving you, that you really want to be living, but how are your stories actually limiting you in your life? And this is a never-ending journey to go on, because when you level up in life, when you start growing and expanding, you will hit walls again, because certain beliefs that served you to grow to a certain level will not help you to grow to the next level. So this requires also a lot of courage, I would say, because you would have to come to terms with seeing the lies that you've been telling yourself, sometimes for a very long time. And this is something that people do not want to get confronted with. People, they fight for their limitations. But I am really an introvert, and they start fighting for it. Well, you stay stuck in a prison for your entire life if you want to. Like, I don't care. But people will fight for their stories to be true. Because what if it's not true? And the most scary thing that happens often when you let go of certain stories is the in-between space. Because when you let go of a story, you float around in this gray area where what is true? What is actually the truth? And there's so much uncertainty. Like I said, we want predictability in life. We want to experience certainty because that will give us safety when we can predict what is happening in life. So that's why we hold so strongly onto these stories. Because once you let go, everything becomes uncertain. Because then you start questioning what is even true anymore. Which is actually true. Everything is a lie. Everything is a story. So are your stories serving you? That's the real question. And that's how, circling back to the law of attraction, I know I went into so many different directions, but that's how you attract things in life, because you start looking for the things to affirm what you believe about yourself and the world around you. That's how everything works. That's how the law of attraction works. So that's it.